Broadcasting from Detroit's Cass Corridor, it's the Metro on WDET. I'm Tia Graham. Teen takeovers in the city have Detroit city officials, community leaders, and residents wondering what needs to happen to curb the behavior. We'll hear from an urban planner about the lack of third spaces for teens, and we'll learn about a local effort to support young people through employment in the arts. Then we'll revisit a conversation about the history of women's baseball ahead of a new professional women's pro baseball league, or the WPBL. It's debuting this August. But first, I'm sure by now you all have seen the videos online of teenagers gathering in downtown Detroit. There have been plenty of opinions online in response to it. Some people want more police enforcement, and others are asking where their parents are. And on its face, it seems like there's a simple explanation. As the weather gets warmer, teenagers are looking for a place to enjoy themselves. Mayor Sheffield and her administration already announced plans to provide more recreational opportunities for teens during the summer. But there was a time when teenagers in Detroit already had places to spend their free time. Plus, these gatherings that have been dubbed teen takeovers are happening in cities across the country. Chicago, D.C., and Atlanta each experienced their own version of the takeovers. So it's not just a Detroit concern. Pete Saunders is an urban planner and publisher of the Substack The Corner Side Yard, where he writes about changing cities. He recently wrote he thinks these events are a signal in American culture. He joins me now to break it down. Pete, welcome back to the Metro.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, there was a similar event in Chicago's Hyde Park a couple of weeks ago. Before we get into your expertise, I want to first get your initial reaction when this all went down. What was going through your mind?
Well, a lot of these can be very damaging. The one that took place a couple of weeks ago in the Hyde Park neighborhood was damaging. There were teens who were running across the tops of different parked vehicles and causing a lot of damage there. So it was concerning. So that was definitely in my mind, and thinking about the property damage that is often caused from this. But I do have to say that a lot of other times that there are teen takeovers, there is not property damage, or there's not any other criminal activity that is going on. It's just a gathering of people who are in an area. Sometimes they're just doing some crazy dancing and listening to loud music, but you're right. It's an opportunity for kids on those first warm spring days to get out, and a reflection of not really having any other place to be able to go to.
Yeah. And we spoke with a developmental psychologist on the Metro who explained that high-risk behavior is part of a young person's development. There were 2 arrests and 40 fires in Ann Arbor after Michigan won the Final Four a few weeks ago. Is some of this just part of dealing with young people?
I think it is. A lot of it is dealing with young people that want to take on high-risk behaviors at that age, and not just teens, although, the new phenomenon is called teen takeovers, but this kind of goes into the early 20s. You mentioned the University of Michigan championship celebrations.
Yeah.
Some years ago, I went to Indiana University when they won the national championship in basketball. And during that time, I was a personal witness to a lot of chaos that took place in downtown Bloomington, Indiana. So I'm fully aware of that. I've seen the whole thing take place in other situations. But, sometimes big events will cause these kinds of activities, but sometimes it's just warm weather, and I think it's probably more visible in the Midwest because it's usually related to warm weather in early spring.
Go ahead.
I was also about to say it sometimes can be a reflection of things happening in the middle of summer on the hottest days, too.
Yeah. And I find it so interesting. We talk about Ann Arbor. I'm a Spartan myself, so I'm very familiar with couch burning in East Lansing. So I definitely, I'm definitely familiar with that as well. And it's always been an interesting topic. But we should note that you live in Chicago, but you are from Detroit. What part?
Yeah, I grew up on the Northwest side. Went to Benedictine High School while I was there, now since closed, on Southfield and Outer Drive.
Yeah.
And moved away after high school, and I relocated to Central Indiana, finished college here, and then moved to Chicago after college. So, and speaking of Indiana, while I was in Indiana, and I talked about the Indiana experience at IU and after the championship, but while I was there, I also saw similar activities that took place like this in Central Indiana, small towns, diving donuts in the drive-through parking lots. Drag races that took places on streets, county roads. So, I mean, it's not unique to just, urban areas. I think the difference is that in an urban area like Chicago, like Detroit, there's more potential for some property damage because there's just more valuable property in some of these areas. And I think in other places, people just say, well, kids are just being kids, and we're just going to let them do what they do. And if they have any sort of problem, either they deal with it swiftly or they just sweep it under the rug.
You're listening to The Metro on 101.9 WDET. I'm Tia Graham. My guest is Pete Saunders. He is an urban planner who recently wrote about the teen takeover events, and we are talking about how American society led us here and what we can do about it. Now, I want to get to your writing. You believe incidents like teen takeovers happen because America doesn't have the institutional framework. It doesn't have the framework necessary to guide young people into productive activities. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, it's sort of an interesting phenomenon here. I was thinking back to a story that I read in the New York Times back in January that said, and this is now talking about homicides per 100,000 people in the United States. And back in January, the New York Times was saying that they were projecting that the murder rate, homicides per 100,000 people, has declined to a place lower than it had been in the last 125 years. And there are a lot of people who feel that's a misnomer, that's a mistake. How is it that America, from that standpoint, is any safer than it was, in 1958, which was the previous low? Many people would say 1958 was probably the hallmark of what was a great American society, but now it's projected that we had a murder rate that was lower than at that time after it had declined substantially. But what got me is that I looked at the chart that they had associated with that, and the murder rate was in 1933 about 9.7 people per 100,000 people. That declined over the next 25 years to 4.5 per 100,000. And I thought about the fact that there were institutional as well as economic policies that went into place that really kind of helped that to happen. Definitely the getting out of the Depression helped with that, and getting people into productive jobs and well-paying jobs. But they were also aided by institutions, meaning the organizations, clubs, and civil societies or service organizations that people contributed to. And I think a lot of those had taken up the sort of the mental bandwidth of not just young people, but adults, and said, we're contributing to our community and to our nation through our participation in these activities. And that, I think, has a dampening effect on crimes like murders, like homicides, although it's not in the teen takeover case, certainly not something that is as serious as homicides. But I would say that there's been a greater reluctance to move in that direction with those same kind of institutions, and that's been reflected in the rise and in the problems that we've had more recently since that time.
And Pete, listening to you right now talk about just the murder rates and how, we've seen a decline, you believe that somewhere along the way we lost trust in our institutions. We lost trust in government, trust in media, and trust in our education system. It's all taken a hit over the years. How do we get here?
Yeah, that is a great question. I don't know exactly how I can say that. I mean, you could definitely say that people probably at some point in the 60s began to question things that they had not questioned before. And I would also say that we've not done anything to kind of regain that kind of trust. You might say that the people who are probably doing the best right now and trying to project an image of trustworthiness might be the tech people who are saying, the tech industry is something that's going to lead the way to a better future for everybody. But there's a lot of skepticism about that as well. But I can't really say what it is, but I do believe that we are that there's a way that our cycles work in our society so that there will be an upcoming generation, if it hasn't emerged already, that's going to say, we need to develop an institutional framework that will make this country a stronger place that supports all the other things that government and families are doing.
Now, Pete, when word got out that another takeover was happening this week, parents hosted their own takeover in the neighborhood. What are your thoughts on that? And that happened in Chicago.
That's right. That happened just last evening, and it was actually big news.
Yeah.
There was a social media posting about a teen takeover, also in Hyde Park again. And parents responded by saying, we're going to have our own parent takeover. And they decided to get out in the major commercial corridor in that street, in that neighborhood, 53rd Street. Which has a number of restaurants and bars and other stores, retail stores. And they put chairs out and said, we're going to sit out here and we're going to watch the kids and we're going to make sure that they know that we're parents who are looking out here. And honestly, I have not had a chance to see what the response has been to the takeover last night. But I'm imagining that it went pretty well. I've not heard anything, major about any bad incidents or anything. But I think that that's a great thing. I know that the effort started at a local high school and then spread out to the business community. So I think those are the kinds of things that need to happen. That people say. People say that the parents have to be accountable. This is definitely one way the parents are able to be out there and certainly enforce some accountability on the kids.
Now, Pete, this is my last question to you. Detroit's Mayor Mary Sheffield met with a few of the teens who organized the event and held a press conference. Here's what she had to say.
But what I believe deeply and what I heard directly from our young people is that enforcement alone is not the answer. Our young people want to be invested in. They need structure and occupied things to do. They want to be heard, and they want to be a part of something and feel like they belong. And that is exactly what this administration is committed to delivering for our young people.
In 30 seconds or less, in your opinion, Pete, is this a step in the right direction?
I think it is a step in the right direction. That's very similar to the message that Mayor Brandon Johnson has been saying here in Chicago, that kids need to be invested in. Although I think it's something that government cannot do all by itself. It's going to require individuals and that institutional framework to be able to help make that happen and participate with what government is able to do at all levels and with the families are able to do with their kids.
Pete Saunders is an urban planner and writer for the Corner Side Yard, which is his Substack. Pete, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro again.
Thank you very much.
Coming up, we'll continue our conversation about teens and learn more about a local effort to get young people to work, especially in the growing arts sector. You all stay right there. We'll be right back. This is The Metro.